In this video, we will look at possible explanations why Iran decided not to fire 3 key types of its ballistic missiles throughout the 12-day conflict with Israel in the summer of 2025. Later in the video, we will discuss one of these 3 in greater detail, the Dezful solid propellant ballistic missile. Like and subscribe if you want to support the channel in the algorithm. Now let's start. The first missile many anticipated Iran would use is arguably the most powerful and destructive weapon in its arsenal, namely the Khorramshahr family, which carries a very heavy warhead. A video linked above takes a deep look at this missile. The Khorramshahr was likely not deployed for several reasons. First, it is a relatively new missile, and the units operating it still need to build up their stockpiles. Second, it is a long-term storable liquid propellant missile with a long life cycle, unlike solid propellant missiles that require a complete rebuild of the booster and its delicate solid propellant after around 15 years. A third reason involves the high sophistication of the Khorramshahr. It utilizes technology derived from a Soviet strategic nuclear missile, the R-27. The first stage of this missile would travel the entire flight path with the re-entry vehicle, following closely behind it. Hence, it would ultimately impact either in Israel or neighboring countries such as Jordan. This technology loss factor may have incentivized the IRGC Aerospace Force to withhold it during a conflict where no existential threat was perceived. Under such conditions, a missile-centric military power like Iran naturally attempts to utilize its older Israel-range missiles first, especially those nearing the point in their service life where significant refurbishment efforts would soon be necessary. The second type of missile not observed during the conflict was the Rezvan, a low-cost, liquid propellant, medium-range ballistic missile, and Iran's most cost-efficient ballistic missile with range to reach Israel. The video linked above explains the Rezvan's unique design in detail. The most likely reason for not using it in the war is its vulnerability to high-end Israeli ballistic missile defenses. The Rezvan is not suited for the first attack wave, when an adversary's missile defenses are still operating at nominal capacity. Only once those defenses have been degraded or depleted to a certain level, it would make sense to employ the Rezvan or its yet unnamed MAR variant. It could then perform low-cost strikes against targets still protected by advanced air defense systems, such as the Iron Dome system, Patriot, or the Spider air defense system. Missiles like the EDIMAD modification of the EMAD ballistic missile are better suited to drag ballistic missile interceptors toward them, thereby forcing the adversary to launch those expensive assets in high quantities. The mission profile for which the EDIMAD is very well suited involves its Mach 6 to 7 rated maneuverable re-entry vehicle. Consequently, regarding the Rezvan, the conflict's limited duration meant the timing was probably not right for its use from the perspective of the IRGC Aerospace Force. The third key missile Iran did not launch against Israel is the Dezful medium-range ballistic missile, which we will discuss in detail throughout most of the remainder of this video. First, however, to clarify why it was not used, we must look at its compact size, which in turn limits its maximum effective range. The Dezful needs to be launched from high-threat border regions towards Iraq in order to reach northeastern Israel. It would therefore be operating at its maximum range capacity and adjacent to a hostile region, an area whose airspace was protected by US CENTCOM air power as well as Israeli strike packages utilizing dangerous, long-reaching prompt reaction weapons like the Rampage supersonic air-to-surface missile. Thus, similar to the previously mentioned Rezvan, the conflict would have needed to advance to a phase where the Israeli Air Force's long-distance firepower projection capability would be degraded or exhausted, a goal that could be enabled by heavy ballistic missile strikes against its air bases, especially in a sudden attack scenario. This, however, did not happen during the 12 days of the summer conflict, and consequently the Dezful would have been at relative high risk when operating from the limited border areas within which it could meaningfully reach Israel. It is certainly true that without US air cover over Iraq, the Israeli Air Force could not have generated the observed strike sortie rate. as a portion of its multi-role fighter jet assets would have to be committed to air defense missions to intercept Iranian drones. But with all its power concentrated on strike missions, it would have made no sense for Iran to order units equipped with Dezful missiles to operate against Israel under unnecessary high threat conditions for the launcher crews. Missile units positioned to the rear, far from the borders with Iraq, could be utilized to perform strikes on Israel from safe positions. This was, for example, the case with the 2 launches of the much longer-ranged Sejil ballistic missile from deep inside Iran. The Sejil would be the 4th missile not truly utilized by Iran during the war, but because of its 2 spectacular-looking show launches, it must be counted as a missile that saw operational combat use. A video detailing this special missile is linked above. The fact that only 2 Sejils were launched is very telling regarding the threat level Iran perceived, given that even during peacetime military exercises, typically more Sejils are launched than were during that conflict. Returning to the Dezful, probably because rear-positioned units could cover Iran's firepower projection needs, the Dezful launchers were not activated during the conflict and remained in their safe tunnel bases. A solution that would have enabled the use of the Dezful from safe positions, namely, the missile farm launch concept, which will be detailed later in the video, was not used at all, because Iran likely had not yet operationally fielded this concept. Another point is that a safe utilization of the Dezful would have been possible if Iran had been the attacker, because in an offensive scenario, no Israeli air power assets would have been available to hit the launchers before they could fire their initial salvo in a sudden strike scenario. So, let us now take a detailed look at the Dezful and explain its special characteristics. This medium-range, solid propellant ballistic missile is the 2nd variant of the original Zulfiqar platform, which became the successor of the famous Fateh 110 family by the mid-2010s. Entering service between 2018 and 2019, it improved the family from the short-range category to a medium-range ballistic missile at the low end of the spectrum, boasting a range of 1,000 kilometers and a payload of 376 kilograms. The compact design of the Dezful was achieved through decreased warhead weight and the potential use of skip trajectory techniques, enhancing glide range compared to a direct descent re-entry. The Zulfiqar Basir variant, which incorporates an imaging terminal seeker, suggests that pop-up trajectory techniques possibly developed for it might have been applied to the Dezful. This technique involves the missile performing a pop-up maneuver to acquire the target, potentially extending the range by about 100 kilometers when one or several such maneuvers are utilized for extending the glide phase. However, this is not confirmed due to the technical challenges in creating an inertial measurement unit capable of withstanding the high G-forces during re-entry deceleration, as well as the gyroscope and accelerometer drift and guidance system would have to endure in such a prolonged active flight phase. The Dezful's further weight reduction was achieved through the use of electromechanical actuators instead of pneumatic ones, as well as a carbon composite nozzle. The changes to increase range likely necessitated new solutions for the 200-kilogram lighter warhead to roughly maintain its destructiveness, potentially employing thermobaric and sub-munition payload options. The use of more advanced materials, like at the nozzle, not only reduced weight, but also solved issues related to the center of pressure and center of gravity. When compared to the Iskander and Iskander pattern ballistic missiles developed by several countries, the Dezful's key feature is its separable maneuverable re-entry vehicle. It is much smaller in size than the Iskander-type missiles that impact with the same physical size as they were launched. Hence, the Dezful MAR has a significantly smaller radar cross-section and a higher ballistic coefficient. Combined with the better aerodynamic steering capacity, due to its larger fins, relative to the re-entry body, it means that it possesses key benefits in those fields. A notable innovation made is the Dezful's all-battery-powered electromechanical subsystems, enabling a sealed tube-launched variant that enhances survivability and readiness. When the tubes are buried underground, this launch mode represents a highly unique and important deployment technique for Iran. The missile, using its solid propellant rocket motor, electromechanical actuators, and solid-state avionics, can be stored in the hermetically sealed launch canisters for many years in a ready-to-launch state. The launch tube with annular-type gas exhaust diverts the gases created at the launch upwards to remove the earth layer hiding the launch tube. This unique launch mode, demonstrated in 2020, suggests the use of decoy sites to evade detection and targeting. These so-called missile farms can use the shell game concept, where decoy sites and real ones are used to avoid identification and effective targeting. The Dezful's compact size, almost identical to the Zulfiqar, facilitates concealment and enables mobile twin launcher configurations. At about the same size as the Zulfiqar, the Dezful is light enough to allow for twin missile launchers, similar to the Russian Iskander, but with a significantly longer range. This impressive performance is achieved without the use of expensive materials and solutions, making it a low-cost missile system. In the regional context, Iran's main adversary Israel could now be attacked by this small, tactical missile, a significant upgrade from the larger and heavier Shahab-3 and Ghadr missiles. If launched from Iran's western border regions via off-road capable launchers or buried sealed launch tubes, a notable portion of northern and northeastern Israel, including areas like the front line of Lebanon's Hezbollah towards Israel, the Syrian border at the Golan Heights, is within the range of the Dezful. The high-quantity production is reflected in the large quantities launched during exercises, indicating it likely replaced the Zulfiqar in the production line. Its production quantity and low cost also means that it's a highly tactical asset, suitable for the near real-time air and artillery support role for situations where the opponent enjoys full air dominance over the front line. A key capability, given Iran's discrepancy in air power when compared to its potential adversaries. The Dezful's most recent launch mode involves employing standard shipping containers, which likely house 2 Dezful missiles, allowing them to be concealed in land, as well as launched from the sea. The sea launch variant suggests the use of external input for missile alignment, possibly dependent on satellite navigation for initial position and heading alignment necessary for precision strike. The Dezful may eventually be replaced in future by the related Hajj Qassam ballistic missile, which offers more payload and range, employing an enlarged booster. While larger and heavier than the Dezful, the added range on the Hajj Qassam means that it doesn't need to operate at the border regions, not requiring an off-road capable launcher for increased survivability. In summary, the Dezful is a prompt reaction, precision strike ballistic missile asset for Iran, with a comparably low cost, and the reach to strike the main regional adversary, Israel. Its design incorporates features that might enable it to evade missile defense systems such as Arrow-2 and Patriot PAC-2, although its primary role appears to be precision strike of non-defended targets. The task of defeating advanced missile defense systems might be left to more specialized missiles like the Khorramshahr and Fatah series. This makes the Dezful a cost-effective point strike solution, with a vast production infrastructure in Iran's missile force structure. Useful against many current regional targets, it offers various payload options for different range requirements and missions. So that's all for today. If you liked it, give a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. It really makes a difference in the YouTube algorithm and is a great support to the channel. The real enthusiast can become members and given access to exciting membership area material. Thanks for your support and motivation. See you next time.